I want to address something that I heard this morning real quick, because I listened to lectures in the morning after I meditated, and then I kind of reflect on the lecture all day long. But what I heard this morning is something that I've heard many times in the past, and that is, we can't call ourselves black because there is no land called the black land. And I say it like I've said in the past. Yeah, they may have a point there. But then it came to me that why don't we have a land called black land in whatever language you choose? Why not? All you got to do is name it and claim it. That's all you got to do. It ain't that serious. So it took me back to something that the Honorable Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad said, and I believe it was very deeply profound, and it really made a serious impact on my life. And that was that, do we realize we can't even think freedom thoughts unless we think them in a language that enslaved us? I said, wow, that's pretty deep. And this is when I realized that I was a black supremacist, but I didn't use the term black supremacy. So that's why when I heard the young brother King Noble using the term black supremacy, it resonated with me immediately. Why wouldn't I be a black supremacist? Why would I subject myself to somebody else's rule? Why wouldn't I want to rule over myself? I was a black supremacist because as soon as I heard that, we started writing a language for our people. And we're still writing that language. We're finding that it's a lifelong process. Because that was 25 or so years ago. You know what I'm talking about, Brother Quasi? I know you know what I'm talking about. Indila na araso. Do you remember that? That comes from the 1989 lecture by Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, the goddamn white man. So we began writing a language for our own people. Then we kept seeing the debates going back and forth between the Christians and the Hebrews and the Muslims and the atheists and the other groups. And we said, well, shoot, every time we listen to a lecture, we see them going and grabbing all this information from here and there. We ain't got time to do all that. We remember what Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad said, and we remember what Dr. John Henry Clark said, that all of the elements that went into the making of these religions came from the spirit of the black man and black woman. So we said, why am I going to try to figure out if I'm a Christian or a Muslim or this or that, when I can just go deep within myself, sit at the feet of the ancestors and a great teacher, listen and learn, and then translate or transcribe, that is, what we've learned by going and sitting at the feet of the great teacher and ancestors. So that's where the Akawu comes from. We don't have to try to figure out somebody else's religion. If we're going to have a religion, we don't have to try to figure out somebody's holy book, and is it a holy book, and has it been tampered with or not? Or when was it written, and how far back does the information go? We have what some would call a genetic memory bank. So we can go within ourselves and access information from the beginning of time. And so that's what we do. So we began writing the Akawu as well, which is about 25 years old from its inception. but it's really information and knowledge that comes from the beginning of time, much of it. We may use some examples that you can relate to today, but the basic information is coming from the beginning of our time here on this earth, which nobody knows when that is. That's black supremacy. I'm not going to look to the Arab, the Hebrew. I'm not even going to look to the Egyptian. Now, I may study some of their information, study the Metuneta, study the Torah, study the Injil, study the Quran. I may study the Tao and other books. I'm not saying don't study, but I'm saying that the best information that you can get is going to come from deep within yourself as you sit at the feet of the ancestors and a great teacher. Now, do you have some fools for ancestors? Hell yeah. So you even got to sift through that knowledge. Okay? But we're black supremacists. Everything that we do is for the upliftment and benefit of black people. Even when I was a educator of folks with disabilities, they used to tell me, Daku, they would call me by my slave name, Daku, you got a lot of talent. You should go to this university or that university. I made a conscious decision not to do that because I'm a black supremacist. And this is how it appears. I'm not downplaying education, because education is important. It's really information that's education. You can get information from anywhere. You ain't got to pay no cracker for information that's available to everybody. But I realized as a black supremacist that if I become an expert in this or that subject, then the world that you seem to be so concerned with is going to look at me just like the rest of the Negroes and say, that's the white man's nigga. He got the white man's stamp of approval. He got the white man's degree. I got a lot of friends from West Africa, Sierra Leone in particular, that had degrees at home, much older than me. I remember them telling me this. Much older than me, got degrees from home, master's degrees. And then when they moved to England and America, the goddamn white man wouldn't even recognize their degree. They had to start all over. So now they got 2 master's degrees. One from Africa and one from England or one from America. Their genius isn't based on the knowledge they got from England and America. They were already intelligent. But in order for them to make it in the United States, they had to get white validation of their intelligence. Now they twice as smart as any cracker that went to any of these institutions. So I decided as a black supremacist not to attend this or that university, even though I had the opportunity to do so. I just didn't do it because I don't want the white man to get no credit for what I'm doing. When the white man, when the white supremacists put up all types of roadblocks to try to stop me from doing this community garden, I'm glad they did it. Because now nobody's going to be able to come and say, well, if it wasn't for the white supremacists, you wouldn't be able to have no community garden. I had to fight for that. And it's not my community garden, it's our community garden. But because they fought me on it, now we have record that I was the one fighting to grow food for our own people. So think like a black supremacist when you're talking about this name thing. There's no land called black land, then make a land called black land. Damn, it's that simple. Dr. John Henry Clark reminded us about Thailand and its history of its name. That at one time it was called Siam. And at some point in their history, they decided that they weren't going to be Siam anymore. So they told all of the post offices of the world that we're no longer Siam. We're Thailand. And if you address any of the mail to this country with Siam on it, we're going to throw it in the sea. He said that was the end of Siam. That was it. That's all they did. You downtown somewhere filling out some paperwork. They know that if you can name it, you can claim it. Who authorized the white man to name this land that we are in, the land of our ancestors? And that's for some of you that need to do some more research. Y'all always saying black people want to be everything but what they are. We're a universal people. We're on every one of these continents. Wherever we are is home, including the land that we are standing on today. Who authorized the white man to change the name of our land to the United States of America? He didn't go through our laws. In fact, he broke every law known to man to establish America. He even broke his own goddamn laws. And you talking about using his law to get what you need. If you're trying to get power within the confines of white power, then you ain't got no power. Because at any time, the white supremacists can say, okay, y'all can vote. But then every few years, or however much time it is for all y'all technical folks, they say, okay, we gotta vote again. Are we still gonna let these niggas vote? So you think you got power because you can vote, but your power within the confines of white supremacy is only based on the white supremacists' mercy and what they allow you to do. That's no power. If you can name it, you can claim it. I remember when I first started going to UNIA-ACL events. I remember seeing the word Banneker City. You kept saying Banneker City. I'm like, where the hell is Banneker City? They're like, you standing in Banneker City, fool. You standing in Banneker City. I'm like, I thought I was standing in D.C. That's because I was thinking like a white supremacist. This is Banneker City. I'm like, well, damn. Who called it and named it Banneker City? We did. Well, who gave you permission to do that? We did. As a sovereign people, we did. So why isn't there a black land? If there's not a black land, then make a black land. And then you can call yourself black people. How do you make a black land? You just name it, and then you can claim it. This has been Daku Akabo Wa Akatu.